All right. Welcome to the first meeting of the Agricultural Commission. Unfortunately, due to some illnesses that are going around, we lost a bunch of our members this evening to sickness, and so we're not going to have a quorum. So the meeting that we're going to hold here it's technically not an official meeting. We can't do any official actions. So some of the things that were on the original agenda, such as actually calling the meeting to order, that can't happen. The organization of the committee, one of the first acts is the committee members will have to appoint a chairman, a vice chairman, and then a secretary and clerk from their voting membership. And then the next order of business would have been to actually establish their 2019 meeting schedule. And in talking informally with some of the different farmers in town, I don't see the need for this committee to meet every month. It's not going to be one of those type of commissions. Really, I think if you did once a quarter, and then as issues come up, all you need is 48 hours notice to the town clerk, and you need to post the meeting, and you can hold a meeting. And so in a case where an APR land might be sold, and the town has to exercise the right of first refusal, that's something where the Agricultural Commission would want to call a meeting to order to that and then review that. Because under the new bylaw, the Agricultural Commission, anything related to agriculture, farming, the APR, or the protected lands, really comes before the board here for their advice and expertise. And then if there's one of the official actions that would have been nice to be able to do tonight, knowing that we had the quorum situation, would be doing a town warrant article to modify how the membership works here. For instance, we have 5 voting members, and I think there's about 5 or 6 non-voting members. And we have a bunch of non-voting members here, but they can't participate because there's nothing in the bylaw that allows them to participate. And so what we'll do, and I'll sponsor it through the Economic Development Committee, is we'll sponsor a warrant article so that in the event that the Agricultural Commission meets and one of the full members isn't present, that one of the non-voting members can then become a full voting member for that meeting, so that it's easier to get quorums and easier to get things done. Because we know you guys are all busy, but we're building something new here, and I wish I would have thought about that, in the fall and been proactive on it. But we'll get that. And I think the warrant ends sometime in middle of April, something along those lines. And the Agricultural Commission, once it's established, can actually draft and propose their own warrant articles for anything that they seem necessary in order to function or to do their jobs or promote agriculture and the economy here. But there are a couple of things that we can do that are purely informational, don't require any actions. And so I figured some of it is pretty timely, and so we'll just get right into it. We won't waste anybody's time. Please, let's make this conversational. I'm just the facilitator. All right, jump in and let's just have a conversation. So one of the first things on the agenda was just a quick update on the Chapter 61A and APR lands, the hemp designation update, state legislature, and local assessors. At the previous informational forums, there was some discussions on hemp, and then they had a separate meeting. They had the state come in on hemp. Recent development, a couple of days ago, the Senate budget version did pass the Senate. My understanding is Governor Baker's on board with this as well. And that is simply going to add hemp to the same designation as any other agricultural commodity. I think they're going to do it right after tobacco. That's good. All right, and so that should be signed off relatively quick. There was a House version that was originally proposed. The House version restricted hemp from being raised on APR land, and the primary reason why the House did that is they didn't want the big industrial marijuana or hemp companies coming in, taking over huge swaths of land and taking advantage of that. So I think they've worked out some sort of a compromise, but it looks like it's going to be the Senate version that gets actually pushed through, which makes sense. But you know, you want to do some protections, but you don't want to kill the family farmer and some of this, you don't want to kill a budding industry here. So it looks really good that within weeks, hemp's going to be allowed on APR land. So I thought that was important. Sure.
Just this week, we're not an APR. We're not in 61A. And we received this very official-looking communication from an outfit in Boston looking for a place to do a grow facility.
I got the same.
Oh, did you?
thing,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And I responded negatively that we were interested in a lot of high-value crops, but not pot. And so I just wanted to mention that I think as a result of somebody looking at this situation, that communication came up.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunity out there, and you know what's good is that you know we've got a lot of people that are part of your farming community in Dudley that actually know quite a bit about hemp, and even your two newest additions. I think you actually teach courses.
Yeah, we're starting like a consulting.
Yeah, on hemp, and then also Chet's daughter, I believe is an expert on hemp. So that's just one crop. But again, you know, what I don't want people to think that this is the Hemp Growing Association. This is the Dudley Agricultural Commission. And, you know, if hemp is important to a couple of farmers, it's important to the commission. If corn is important to a couple of farmers, it's important to the commission. Anything related to your livelihoods and your land, this is what this commission is all about. It's being your advocate. In some ways, it's similar to what the Grange used to be, right? I mean, I think you made the comment that the Grange used to be the union for farmers years ago. And so you look at everything that's happening, and right, you have these big companies reaching out to you now about grow facilities and stuff like that. I mean, to stay united, there's strength in that, and to make sure no one's being taken advantage of.
They're not wasting any time.
No?
That's crazy.
No. But you know, this is a great opportunity for many of you guys. You know, the refocus on agriculture and people that, you know, from, you know, field to table, you know, that whole food thing, and people, I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for a renaissance. And so that's why I'm excited. I'm excited that you guys are excited about this.
So,
Yeah.
can I cut in here? Just
Sure.
Since that's what you asked for.
This
right?
is conversation.
So I hear you keep saying that the Ag Commission is here to help the farmers and stuff like that. Now, I'm here, I'm not a farmer. I mean, I own a small piece of land that's under 61A that gets hayed, but I mean, I don't do it myself, somebody else does it. So I'm not a farmer, but you know, I'm here because I think the Ag Commission is really important to non-farmers. I think and I think this is important maybe in some of the discussions we'll have later, that the agriculture and the farming, you know, keeping that viable in Dudley is important to everybody, including non-farmers. So I think it's just, you know, I think I'm way outnumbered here, farmers to non-farmers. But I just want you to know that there are people in Dudley like me, and a lot of people in Dudley like me, and you know, all over the place, who think that farming in Dudley is really important for us also. And so, you know, we'd like to, even though we're not, you know, farmers, we need, you know, there are people who want to support it, and I think that's important to look at that angle too. And I think there's a, you know, I think farmers will need that support from, you know, there are more non-farmers in Dudley than there are Dudley. So if you want to pass something, it's important to keep that in mind when we talk about this thing. So
Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Sure, absolutely.
The Lenny and Karen and myself are all Grange members. I'm kind of a wannabe farmer, okay? So is Karen. And but I think it's really important to include the Grange and to bolster the Grange and the Grange membership and what the Grange does. And the Grange is in a mode right now where it's had a big depletion of membership. It struggles to get the traditional things done. And I just want to encourage the people that are interested in this venue, this effort, to think about joining the Grange, because it is a traditional and long-term mouthpiece for people that are interested in the land, Dudley, and tradition. And I can't overstress the fact that the Grange needs some more membership, and this is the perfect place to find it.
I grew up in New York City,
I'm sorry.
far away from any farms. And only recently did I truly understand what the Grange was and what the Grange did.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people in my similar situation where, you know, you kind of go on with life and you kind of caught up in your own corporate world, whatever, and you hear the Grange and you never really inquire, what is it? What does it do? What's the history? And my brief interaction with the Grange and the Grange members shows that it really is a community organization, very social.
Yeah.
You guys like to have a good time. You like to have events. I mean, and as you look at some of the different things that the Grange used to do, right? Dances and balls and, you know, festivals, and I think this can be a fantastic. I almost think they go hand in hand, and I would love to see if we could get some sort of a grant from the state to equip the video cameras in the Grange so that the Ag Commission can actually hold their meetings in the Grange, right? It makes sense to do that.
And other participants, like the Dudley Land Conservation Trust, they're active, you know, they do presentations there. UMass has been there doing presentations, which I, you know, truly enjoy. The soils guy was there. And there's other things planned. So, I mean, there's a lot to learn at the Grange through its normal activities. And it's a bargain.
Well, since we're talking about the Grange, it's actually a great tie-in for one of the things that were on the agenda, which was the Strawberry Festival.
Yeah.
But maybe you can just even talk about the Grange. It's my understanding that you even rent out your hall there for private functions, birthday parties,
Yep.
things along those. I don't think a lot of people are even aware of that. So talk to them about the Grange. Sell the Grange here.
Take it away, Karen.
Oh, shit, thanks, put me on the spot. I've been a member of the Grange for 20-plus years, and Lenny, you're 40 years. And I know my family goes way back in the Grange, but its history is very rich and has really contributed a great deal to the development of our country, specifically the rural areas of the country. The Grange really got started back in the 1870s, and it was largely established as a farmers union at that point in time, as the railroad, if you'll recall, you know, the railroad stretching across the United States was pretty powerful in terms of, you know, charging for freight, you know, shipping and whatever, and that was the only way farmers had their way of getting their goods to market. So the Grange formed, and there is a national Grange which is still active, lobbying on behalf of farmers across the nation. There used to be Granges in every town across the country. We are still viable and functioning. We were chartered in 1888, and we've met consistently as a viable organization for 131 years to present day, which is pretty amazing in these times. Largely that was all agricultural work that was being done. The Grange furnished, as you had said, a place that people would gather socially for events or whatever, but it also was a place to share information, tips, farming, innovation, whatever, with farmers of the community. The thing that women might want to, be happy to hear is the Grange was one of the only organizations back in its time that allowed women to hold office in the Grange, and it was thought to be very important, the woman's role as a farmer's wife, the farm home, etc. So anyway, moving to the present day, as our farms began to die off, unfortunately, is many Granges went under. As I said, we're still viable. We don't do much agriculturally, but what we do is community service. And over the years, we provided a wide spectrum of projects around community service. At one point in time, we did the dictionaries for the third graders in Dudley. Our Grange established a scholarship fund back in the 80s, and we award scholarships to the graduating seniors in a three-town area. We've been doing that for over 35 years, something along those lines, and every year we do that. We host the Strawberry Festival. Everybody who lives in town knows about the Strawberry Festival, and that's been going on, what, is this our 65th year?
We had over 4,000 people cross that lawn last year.
Yeah, it's a huge event.
Not everybody gets strawberries, but hamburgers, hot dogs, face
Yeah.
painting for the kids. It's a tremendous social event that people take advantage of.
Generations speaking.
And the
take-
timing is important, you know, strawberries are in, and right now, I'm just gonna add to Karen, right now, last year, I think there was like maybe 9 of us doing the Strawberry Festival, and it was all hands, and we're desperately in need of some more people, because 4,000 people are a lot, that's a lot of strawberry shortcakes.
A lot of hulling,
Yeah.
a lot of biscuits. I am the whipped cream person. I start 8 o'clock Thursday morning, and I'm still whipping when the berries are getting served. So, yeah, we do everything by hand. We do have an issue this year, is about a week before the festival last year, our refrigerator truck died. So we had to rent a truck at an enormous expense. So we're looking around for some type of refrigeration unit, so that we'll be up
Trying to
and running.
replace it.
Yeah. We don't think the motor's repairable, so it looks as though we're gonna need to replace the whole.
Shebang.
Yeah. So if anybody has any thoughts or ideas or leads and how we can do that, that would be great. We'd certainly
Or if anybody-
welcome that.
Right, or if anybody can offer to help or participate, because it is a lot of fun, what's the best way to contact?
Well, John and I, we spoke earlier this
Okay.
week,
Yeah.
and I forwarded to him a little write-up.
Yep, do you want to read it? Yeah, you know, why don't you talk about some of the things that you need help with?
Okay.
And then I'll let people know what
Okay,
else they can do.
so the Strawberry Festival is June 20th this year. The festival's located on Center Road, and it begins at 4 o'clock until the berries are gone. So the Dudley Grange has put on the Dudley Grange Annual Strawberry Festival on Dudley Hill for nearly 65 years on the 3rd Thursday in June. This year, the festival is June 20th. We start serving shortcake at 4 p.m. until the berries are gone. The festival is an old-fashioned lawn party offering an opportunity for family and friends to gather for relaxation and old-fashioned fun. The proceeds from the festival support the care and maintenance of our historic Grange building and our various community service projects, to include the Dudley Grange Scholarship Fund. This year, Dudley Grange is looking for volunteers to help with the festival. The following are some of the areas that we're needing help with. Setting up the grounds, we usually begin about Tuesday of that week. Then setting up means putting up the signposts, the ropes for the ticket area, getting the food booth ready, setting up picnic tables, etc. And we do that throughout the course of the week until the day of the festival. On the Wednesday, the day before the festival, we try to get a crew of folks together that are willing to hull berries, and that begins at 8 o'clock in the Grange. And all we ask you to do is just bring a knife and a bowl, the paring knife and a bowl. Earlier in the day on Thursday, the day of the festival, we need help in cutting the strawberry biscuits. We usually start that about 12:30, I think. Is that right? And then we need help in the serving line, serving the strawberry shortcakes. We did, over 2,500 shortcakes last year, I think, right? Is that about right?
Oh, yeah.
We could use volunteers to help in the snack shack, serving drinks, hot dogs, and hamburgers. Adult volunteers are needed in assisting with parking. The traffic gets unbelievable. And people have difficult time finding parking spaces.
Nichols helped us
Yeah,
with that.
Nichols has been
They've been
wonderful.
great,
Yep,
letting us use their parking because nobody's there.
right,
They let us use their parking lot, which is terrific.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what we do with all those cars without them. But anyway, they help.
So it's a community effort, it's bringing, parties together. The police and the fire department participate. The fire department brings out the smokehouse. The kids love that. The police generally will have a cruiser or some form of equipment on the grounds for the general public to view. So to parking of the cars, we would need adults for that. And then clean up at the end of the festival. There's a lot of lugging and putting away of things, getting them back into the cellar for the next festival. But I put down on this, and I think you said you were going to put this up for us on the website?
It is on the website now.
Oh,
Very good.
okay. Well, I didn't want to speak for other people, so I spoke for myself. I put my number and my email. If you're interested in volunteering, to just contact me, and then I will, pass that on to the various, taskmasters who are heading up the different places, like the food booth, the serving line, etc. And Alex, I also put Alex Rodnoff's name up there. He's really been a tremendous support during these festivals. He's pretty much ran it all by himself. Setting up and getting things moving and whatever. He's been a great asset. So I just limited it to just myself and he at this point as contacts. So if folks want to reach out to us, that would be great. And then one of us will get back in touch.
Yep.
All right. So for the folks at home that may be watching, perfect opportunity, right? Long winter, you got a winter body on. This is a time, right?
Get out.
June,
Work
get some
it out.
fresh air, shed it, meet some new people. For anybody that does want to volunteer, they can now go to they can go to dudleyma.gov, the town website, and just go /strawberry. It's that simple. So dudleyma.gov /strawberry.
You'll be serving your community.
And your neighbors.
And your neighbors. And
And your neighbors.
Yep. So they can go online, there's a volunteer form right there. When you fill out that volunteer form, you will get the email and so will Alex.
Okay.
And then I'll just get copied on it to make sure the system's working.
Great, thank you.
Good.
But that is live now, so you can go there. And then what I would encourage you is as you get closer to the event, any logistics, any promotional stuff, post it on the town website.
Okay, great.
All right?
Okay, and if anyone is interested in any additional information about the history of the Grange, please don't hesitate to give me a call on the number that's
Right.
listed on the website. I'd be happy to, share. And the historical relevance of the building. That also, the Grange Hall was originally on the other side, on the south side of the church. And it was the center school. And then about 1849, townspeople got together and all chipped in and put a second story, and that was Washington Hall, where it was a meeting place for the town, and then a gentleman purchased it. And this is back in 1890 something, we moved it. Think about that, moved the entire building to where it sits now. And then the Grange got together and bought the building.
So if someone had a party, right, you have communions coming up, you have graduations coming up.
Yep.
If they wanted to rent the hall, how do they do that?
We do have a rental committee. We can also add some additional information about that. Alex Rodnoff actually is the person to contact for renting the hall. So his number is on the website if they want to give him a call. We do have a calendar that we keep, track of
Okay.
rentals, and he has access to that, so he could let them know. The only thing that is, because the Grange was, formed in the era of temperance, that's part of our thing, is we ask that there be no alcoholic beverages and no candles, obviously, because of the
Okay.
age of the building, and that's pretty much it. So
Fair
that's,
enough.
we don't rent it in the winter.
We
December,
shut down from,
late December
we have our Christmas thing and then,
to our first meeting in March.
Okay.
Due to the, it's the cost of heating. I mean, the
Yep.
building is quite old and there is no insulation, so it takes quite a bit to heat it, so.
we're looking to replace our furnace and
Right.
instead of going oil, we're gonna go gas.
It's great.
We got the hookup, it's gonna be a lot cheaper and a lot easier to run. It's a hard building to heat, second floor and
Yep.
all, but there are, what do you call them, vents going up. We get it, that's where we have our meetings.
Yep. Well, the property's perfect for birthday parties and kiddie parties, right?
Oh, yeah.
They throw horseshoes out there, right? They can do their what do they call it, cornhole or whatever. I mean, it's beautiful grounds.
We've had picnics. The tavern, the Black Tavern, has utilized the grounds for some of their events at the barn for additional seating. They've utilized across the street on the lawn. You know, it's, the church next door has you know, asked to use it for some of their Sunday socials with the youth group or with the church body, whatever. So we try to be as accommodating to our neighbors as possible. And it's a great organization, and I know there's not a lot out there about it, but it is, I feel, very important community service organization in town.
Excellent.
So little is known about it.
And very important to this commission, I think, as a
I think so, too.
as a contributing body. Yep.
Does anybody have anything else to add on the Grange? All right, we'll keep things moving along. So remember, first, dudleyma.gov/strawberry. You want to go and volunteer. Jerry, and I'm glad, Jerry, you're here, because Jerry has been involved in the community as long as I've known him. Years ago, we served on the planning board together back around 2000, I think it was, right? 2001, somewhere in that time.
I don't remember.
And I've always admired him, but he is always, he always comes up with some good ideas. And one of the things he asked about with the agenda was maybe working with the school regarding a student awareness and involvement in the importance of agriculture in Dudley, as well as finding out if there's any potential in getting the schools, public and Nichols, to buy the produce from the local farmers. So, Jerry, do you want to just talk about that, and do you want to lead that effort?
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about it. It's just, it's just an
Hey,
idea.
yeah.
So let me just put this, and then if we think it's a good idea, we can decide how we're going to move forward with it. But I think involving the kids in the school, first of all, I think, that was talked about at that first Grange meeting. It's just important for kids in Dudley to know what farms are and how farms work and stuff like that. And maybe, some kind of a farm camp or something like that, somebody might want to use their farm for doing something like that, a farm school. There are a few farm schools in Massachusetts. I know it, the kids in Boston and Cambridge and stuff pay big bucks for their kids to go there for 2 weeks during the summer, and they live at the, and they do the farm work. So, that's one thing. What I was thinking more about the schools as a more of an immediate thing, but I think that, I think that if food is produced in Dudley, the easiest place to sell it should be in Dudley. And we talked about, the Kepke farm, how that, they sell meat, and yet people in Dudley are, buy meat through a mail order thing, and, it's probably not the quality that Kepke has, and yet they don't know about Kepke, so they do it. But, a big buyer of food in Dudley is the schools. And so, since the Ag Commission is part of the town of Dudley, maybe something can be worked out through, an article saying that, maybe like $1,000 could be raised, because I know it's going to be more expensive to buy food locally, especially at first, than it is to buy it from from the big suppliers that the schools buy it from. But maybe the schools can be mandated to buy, 5% of their food from Dudley farmers. Now, I don't even know tell you the truth, what Dudley's farming that could be used at the school, but certainly things like apples or corn, some of the stuff that's served in the schools. I mean, it just seems to me it's a no-brainer that the school should, or even, I don't think we can make Nichols do it, but the schools could be mandated to buy 5% of their food locally, for example. So I think that's, I'm not sure if what we're growing here in Dudley is the same stuff that the school could be using, but I'm sure some of it is. And then, beyond that, I think selling the food locally is important. And I know that we once had a farmer's market, and this maybe is where the Grange comes in, that didn't work at all. It was in Marty's parking lot down there, and it was just, I went to it a couple of times, and it just wasn't a good farmer's market. So, there's the chicken before the egg thing that you have to do, and I don't think they were doing whether it was the chicken or the egg, I don't know, but they just weren't doing what they needed to do to get people to come, and if people don't come, then people don't go there to sell their stuff. But if, I think that if somebody made a really good effort to really put together a good farmer's market, I think people in Dudley would support it. And maybe it shouldn't be in a parking lot like that. And I think the Grange is a perfect place, because if it rained, you've got that big hall inside that, you know, you could just move in, and people could sell some of their stuff there, you know, especially in the summer, vegetables and eggs, and, you know, maybe even people like Kepke's could even sell milk, and, you know, I mean, they sell a lot of stuff up there. So, you know, those are 3 ways. I think creating a market for the farmers to sell stuff at is, you know, it's important, because, you know, if not, people just aren't going to grow it. And I think right now, from what I can tell, people in Dudley a lot of our people are just growing food for cattle. You know, we're growing a lot of hay, we're growing a lot of corn and stuff like that. But, you know, like John was saying, there's a big demand now for, you know, farm to table. And I think it just needs a little push from us. And I think a farmer's market is really, you know, if you just put a little investment into it, you know, maybe you have like a musician there, and you have you know, something like, you go to a lot of these farmers markets and they have it, you know, like at one end there's a guy playing guitar or something like that. It's not really part of the thing, but it gets families there, and they sit around, they listen to the music, and then they go out and they buy some stuff, some honey or stuff like that, and it just gets people there. Maybe even have like a little, you know, swing set so that the kids can play on it while the parents are shopping for food and stuff. And, you know, it can even be, you know, flowers and, like I said, eggs, honey, you know, easy things. But I think it's easy to, you know, I think it's easy to do that. It's just a little upfront work and maybe a little bit of upfront money, but we can do it a lot better. And I know it didn't work in Dudley before when they did it at the parking lot, but I don't think they were doing that. They were just, it was just there. It wasn't promoted. It wasn't, nobody was pushing it. So you really got to organize it and make it good so that when people come, they want to come back a second time. So I think that, you know, you're reaching the people in Dudley. I think with the schools, you're creating a market, you know, a bigger market for, you know, maybe 1 or 2 farmers could have a contract with the school to supply, you know, 2,000 ears of corn or 5 bushels of apples or whatever we've got. And then also have something to educate the kids, to get them involved in it and understanding. And, you know, a lot of these kids are going to grow up and live in Dudley when they grow up, and for them to be involved in it.
What I like about the idea, Jerry, is as we talk about taking land that has been grown in and basically clearing it and putting it back into use, one of the big questions is, where am I going to sell my product? And, you know, if there is some sort of an agreement between the school district or Nichols for a certain commitment there, and those farmers through the Ag Commission know that, okay, I've got this crop sold, it helps them justify that investment in time, energy, and money
Yeah.
to clear some of that land to make it produce more.
There's also
Yeah.
restaurants in the area, I
Yeah.
know, not so sure about around here, but I know in other towns where there's a great deal of farming, you know, similar to our situation. The farmers are selling fresh vegetables to the local restaurants. And, you know, it's been part of their advertising, you know, in, like farm to table type of menu. And that, you know, is very popular. I liked your idea, you know, what you were talking about in terms of the farmer's market. Is something, are you familiar with the Coventry, Connecticut Farmer's Market? In Coventry, I believe it's every Sunday. I'm not sure of the dates, like June to maybe sometime in September. Every Sunday at the Nathan Hale Farmstead, they have a big farmers market, and there's all kinds of nonprofit organizations that you know, set up tables and stuff. There's your honey people, you know, farmers. There's eggs, milk, fudge, all kinds of things that they sell. There's some entertainment, like you were talking about, and then of course the draw there is the historical house and so forth on the grounds. But you know, we have a beautiful hill in Dudley, and, you know, we do have a lot of, the tavern across the street from us, and the lawn area. That might be something that, you know, if we could get people together and talk about, you know, getting it off the ground, that'd be a marvelous opportunity for people to get some of their things to you know, out to the community. I think a lot of folks would be interested in, you know, visiting the farmer's market after church on Sunday, or, you know, if there's events going on, you know, make it a family outing, bring a picnic, and, you know, make it a community type of thing.
So I just want to reinforce what John was saying, that, you know, the demand for this stuff exists. And, I don't know if any of you drink beer, but if you go to, if you go over to like Treehouse in Charlton, the brewery there, have any of you been there? People wait 2 hours in line to buy a six-pack of beer, and people are coming from, states away, hundreds of miles they're driving to get beer there. And, and their success is based on the fact that they know that that's what they're buying into, they're not making beer and selling it to Marty so that Marty can resell it. They're doing it so with that local feel to it. Matter of fact, they just bought this couple of months ago, I heard they just bought a big farm down in Connecticut, and they're going to be growing all sorts of organic produce and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, if it's just fruit and vegetables, but they're getting into the organic food. And these people they're pretty smart. I mean, they're young people, and they've seen this market, and they're jumping into it. And people in Dudley can do it too, but it takes a little something at first, a little push. And I think the Ag Commission can do that.
And they just bought their own farm in Woodstock, which was a shame because it was like 2 weeks after I approached them for raising the ag crops that they need for making their own beer. But they bought a farm in Woodstock, so they're definitely ahead of us, and they're thinking exactly what you said. They're thinking about how they can incorporate that produce in their property there.
So this is one of the things that, at the next Ag Commission meeting, if the Ag Commission says, yeah, there's merit in that, and you know what, let's appoint Jerry to spearhead this and assemble a team and try to make it happen. I mean, that's one of the goals of what the Ag Commission would do. To keep things moving along, one of the next things was the discussion of shortage of labor for smaller plots. I had a conversation with one of the farmers, and he's got these small pieces of.
John, can I interrupt you
Sure.
one more time? These two people said they have to leave, and they look like they're anxious to say what they have to say. Can we jump to that? I'm not, something about the hemp, right?
I mean, we don't really have, we were just here to listen. And
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
no.
We do have to leave by 7:30, but
Okay,
we're just here to listen.
Yep.
all right.
Sure.
First-time farmers, they bought 52 cent a road,
Yep.
and they're converting it from dormancy. They bought, how many cows, what'd you buy, 3 cows?
Yeah, we got a couple
sheep,
cattle.
Got 2 goats, an alpaca, and like a lot of chickens.
So,
Do you need hay?
They do need hay,
All right,
actually.
here's my
Pain.
card.
That's funny.
but they are on the email list too, and that's when immediately they saw the benefit, and this is where
Yeah.
helping this younger generation, right, that wants to make a difference.
Yeah.
This is what it's
You brought Christmas
about.
cards, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, we see, local agriculture being, a very hot commodity right now as far as farm to table, and people want local agriculture right now. So, we see that. We're going to take advantage of it, try to raise our own cattle, and the hemp thing is going to be a big, profitable crop, I see. It might get saturated. And
Now,
not
you're going
be-
for a specialized one for like CBD oil, right? It's high investment one, right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing like a boutique flower.
Yeah, like a boutique flower, yeah. Something that, people buy that is not like a seed or,
It's gonna be like trimmed
A
in a jar and
biomass.
packaged.
Really?
Fancy stickers.
And how's the experience been working with MDAR on the permitting stuff?
Really slow.
It's been really slow,
Slow?
yeah. I mean, we put the application in, we had to get a revised picture of the property that the plot that we're gonna do it on. So it's kind of just been really slow.
Did you?
But they do everything by mail, so like when you have to revise something, you don't get the letter for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, we see, but this is where you use that network, right? Jessica Burgess, their legal counsel,
Yep.
was here. You met her, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You got her email address?
Yeah.
Oh, we email them, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they won't communicate with you through email.
Yeah,
Just
they
the
wanted
letters.
to wait for the letters.
Oh, is
to
that
come
what?
in. Yeah.
All
She
right.
said you'll
Yeah.
know what you have to do when you get the letter in the mail.
And then Lynn and Robert, they had a site inspection, and they still don't have a license either, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they're in a rush.
See, this is. I have to get authorization on the EDC part, but this is where the Ag Commission, right, can write a letter, hey, we have these farmers that have got permits there as an official board of the town. Could you please escalate or expedite the review of these applications? You know, I mean, this is where you get some juice.
Yeah, I mean, that would be greatly
I'll send
appreciated.
some emails privately to see if they can move things along.
That would help us out a lot.
I mean,
And we
I
did
would-
bring business cards so that everyone can have our information too.
All right,
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
excellent. And then, going back to the labor for smaller plots, I don't know if you guys are also have the same problem. You got big equipment, right, because you can't get anybody to help you bale the hay and do all that stuff, but your big equipment is too big to get into these smaller areas. So one thing to maybe think about is having a conversation as to what's the solution to that. There is, and we're going to jump to this one grant program that's out there now, because there's a deadline, April 17th for this. And they give you a whole year to do it. And that's the Stewardship Assistance and Restoration on APRs. All right? It's up to $25,000. You have to do a 15% match. All right? But if you have pieces of land that, what they identify for this is eligible uses of the funds include contracted labor or equipment rental costs to clear land or reclaim inactive fields back to active cropland use, such as clearing vegetation, removing rocks or stumps, cutting back grown-in field edges, or reseeding or applying soil or crop amendments to inactive cropland or pasture land to bring it back into production. Funding may also be used to restore farm resources that have been negatively impacted by flooding, erosion, storms, tornadoes, and other natural disasters. And I know we have one farmer who's watching at home who's been impacted by a very large development with erosion in their part of the field. This could be used for that. So as you look at your land and maybe bringing it back, you know, it's a click here for the application, so I'll send the link over. But if you've never filled out a grant before, it's a lot easier than you think it is, and the odds of actually getting them are a lot better than you think they are. And if you need some help or guidance, just give me a call and I'll try to walk you through it.
This is just for APR land, though.
Yeah, this is just APR land on this one. There is another one that Ellen LaPrice had sent over. She actually found this from Connecticut, but it's a USDA program that's available nationwide. And that's if you're wanting to conserve water or address water, air, or animal waste issues, if you're looking to reduce erosion, improve wildlife habitat, or maybe obtain a seasonal high tunnel. I don't know what that means. Or you just want to improve conservation on your farming operation, you may be eligible for financial assistance through the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. And they have a deadline of April 19th for this grant. So, and again, what I can do is as a follow-up to this, I'll send it to everyone on the email list, so you can click the links and click the applications. But you'll find some of these applications take 10 minutes to fill out. Some of them a little bit more intense. But they want to give the money away. It's in the budget. It's their job to give this money away. So don't be afraid to try for this stuff. As I say, it's like a lottery ticket. If you don't buy one, you're never going to win it. So at least try. So that takes care of our grant update. But the only other thing I have here, the Economic Development to submit to AG Commission a list of all APR and 61A landowners. We do have a list of all the landholders in town. We'll give that officially, we'll transfer that list from our commission to the Ag Commission. It'll tell you what everybody is, the size of land, what's active, what's not. The thing that, where this comes into importance, and I had this down here for tax rates. The Farmland Valuation Advisory Commission sets up the actual rates for your different Chapter 61A lands for taxes. And I was looking at it, and maybe it's just my naivety and I just don't understand. But I noticed that forest land was taxed at a much lower rate than active farmland. And it almost seems contrary to me from an economic development side, that if I'm trying to get farmers to clear the land again and plant crops, that in doing so, they're gonna immediately have a tax increase on that same land. That makes no sense to me. And maybe it's just because it's the way it's always been done.
There's no delay on that?
Well, that's where I feel the Ag Commission could come into play is, working with the economic development, let's come up with a transition plan. Let's figure out,
As far as the 61A goes, when they consider a piece to be forest, or whatever the wording was you had there, it has to be actively managed forest. So it is a form of farming. It's farming for wood or something like that.
I think they have to produce $600 a year, right? And technically, that's, I think, 61B, right?
Yeah.
The forestry. But why would a hay field be taxed at a lower rate than someone looking to do grapes, vegetables, tomatoes, tobacco, or hemp? Now, I understand that those other crops, if they're productive, can yield more money. And maybe that's the thinking behind it.
Yeah, I would think so.
But until there's a track record and until someone's successful, it's all risk.
There's a difference between hay and vegetable land? I don't.
Lisa Berg, her
Because
timing
when I
was.
fill it out, it's cropland, woodland, and then there's pasture and regular farmland like around the building sometimes. But I would think hayland and vegetable land has the same rate, no?
I just got this from Lisa Berg tonight, and I'll send this out to you. It's productivity based on dominant soil ratings. And so cropland harvested, vegetables, tobacco, sod, and nursery, goes from the low of 766 to a high of 1150. Cropland harvested dairy, beef, and hay, tillable forage, is $154 to a high of 230. So I'll send this to everybody here, and the reason why I send it is to have a conversation. As we're looking to build the agricultural economy, let's make sure we get rid of any financial penalties that farmers may have trying to get those lands back into service. And if there are things that we need to work with other committees on or departments and come up with a transition strategy.
I thought there would be a delay on that.
Yeah, well, let's find out. There might be. Again, you're talking to a city boy.
Well, I don't know either.
Yeah.
And woodlots, although it takes a very long time, we know from ours, we have about 45 acres in managed woodlot. Over time, it does, it can produce a lot of value.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we shipped 1,100 tons of chips and 120 cord of tree-length firewood and 50,000 feet of hemlock.
Oh, wow.
So, and that was an improvement cut, so it wasn't even like,
Wasn't a clean cut.
No. That's the second one in our very short, we're very young. It's the second one in our short tenure there, which has only been 26 years.
I think it would be good for the AG board here, actually doing, at every meeting, not to do it all at once, but at every meeting to invite one person who, like maybe somebody from the school committee, and then another meeting, somebody from the assessor's office, everything that affects agricultural in Dudley, to invite one person from those areas to each meeting and have a discussion like this and see, what needs to be done.
Yeah, and what's the reason and why something exists? Is it time to change something? Does it work? What can you do to give a delay or an incentive? So, yeah, but it just kind of jumped out at me when I saw that. I was kind of surprised.
So you just mentioned that you guys have a list of all the APR and 61A.
Lisa Berg just sent me the thing tonight. I asked her this afternoon. She got right back to me. It's a really great document. It's from the Division of Local Services, Mass Department of Revenue.
Is there,
There's a map.
for the town of Dudley, though, is there an inventory of what's growing and what's being produced in town? Like, do we have apple orchards? Do
No.
we have hay? Do we?
I have all the landowners and what designation they're at, but that may be one of the things that the Ag Commission may want to do, is actually do a survey out to all these members. What are you actually growing? Are you growing anything? What's your crop?
Yeah, because then I think they can help help them sell it if they know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, there may not be any, I don't know, there may be very little demand from the farmers in Dudley to sell food, to the schools, I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's any demand to sell them hemp or hay
From the students.
or cow corn, for example,
Yeah.
but if there are apples being growing or stuff like that.
There's two things that I know. One is we've been approached by, there's the huge 5 or 6 huge dairies in Woodstock, and they're desperate for land. And they call us, but the problem is, they're huge. They took one look at our place and they can't even get down our lanes with a 6-row corn chopper, but they've asked us to help them discover where they can rent land. And the second thing that I would say, because we've been trying to do it, is it's very difficult to get. We're very interested in leasing our land for some high-value crops and participating, because our labor force has moved away and got their own life. And that's a very difficult proposition. We've gone to find and farm, but that's of not much value, and currently we're using Facebook Market. But the Ag Commission, I'm sure there's a lot of people with, a lot of landowners in Dudley with the exact same situation to reach out to. The farms have stopped, but they have these big pieces of land, and they also have a job and what have you. To be able to recruit and market and lease land for productive purposes is I would think would be a huge goal of the commission to put a storefront on that. Because it
Goes back to our conversation at the original conversation
Yeah,
about
it
that
achieves-
little cheat sheet list for
Yeah.
each farm.
Yeah, it achieves the goal of what the commission is trying to do. And I certainly, if I I was excited to get the letter with the, I opened it up, yeah, this guy wants to rent land. Oh, no. No, I don't want to do pot. But vegetable farmers, cut flowers, orchard stock, like what the Dresser Hill folks are doing, those are all things that I'm interested in doing.
Excellent. So the only other thing I had that we could cover right now is our new friend, the lanternfly. I guess they discovered them at the Boston Farmers Market for flower market. Is there a big flower market in Boston?
There are big lots of markets.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I guess it's enough for them to really do this statewide concern about this thing, and it could be a pretty bad little bug, I guess. So I got this thing from the Pest Outreach Project. It shows you the different stages as you're out there in the fields. If you see them, they want you to catch them and fill out a form.
That's funny.
I wonder if it could be like one of those borer beetles and everything else.
Mail the bug in or just the form?
Yeah, no, I think they want the bug too.
Oh, they did, huh?
There's a place in a freezer or in a jar with.
Oh, yeah.
This is.
Yeah, but I guess it does tremendous damage to fruit trees.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we are having a problem with our fruit trees,
Really?
yeah. Big time.
So that's all I have on the information side. Does anybody want to add anything?
Well, you were mentioning about maybe only quarterly,
Yeah.
but when things like this come up, and once certain people really get going with a big agricultural project, I think it'd be advantage to have it more often, especially during the growing season.
Yeah.
Because I might find out something that could help them, they might find out something that could help me. So I'm not sure about the quarterly, but, you know.
And it's totally up to you guys, and I think if you, I mean, ideally, if you held it at the Grange, well, you could have a nice night out of it as well, you know what I'm saying? You know, you have your water, some refreshments, coffee, you know, make it a social thing around your meeting.
And like these programs that have deadlines coming
Yeah.
up real close, things like that come up, you know, a quarterly meeting is gonna help somebody to find that out.
Regularly scheduled conference calls too, or go to meeting, you know.
No.
A 30-minute conference call can accomplish a lot, keeps the group focused,
But that'll be totally up to you guys.
up to the commission.
And my goal will be simply to kind of just be a coach and help you along, and
How do the committee members, the voting members, get put in place from here on in? Is it, it's not town elections, right?
no, it's Board of Selectmen appointments.
Okay.
And so, right now, I'm scheduled to go to the Board of Selectmen on I think it's April 8th, because I have a resignation on my board. But depending on if this individual on the Ag Commission decides to stay or not, if he decides that he doesn't want to do it, then I'll put in the resignation of him, because he was already appointed by the board. I'll have to put in the resignation. And then what I'll probably do is just give them a list of the previously non-voting members, so that they can appoint someone from that list to at least plug that hole. And then I'll try to get that town warrant article that allows them to use a
Yeah.
non-voting member as an alternate. So, a little bit of work to do quickly.
It might be better, John, to increase the board number to 7 and have a, I'm thinking, but I don't know, but that's,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna
That's
change
the
it through-
catch-22, and that's why I think if we at least give an avenue to have the alternates or the vote, the
Yeah.
non-voting members
Okay.
be able to step in, you can keep that low quorum number, and between your full members and your non-voting members, it's easier to hit that quorum number. We have that challenge on the economic development all the time.
yeah. No, I'm just thinking that, a problem with having alternate members being able to vote is that they're going to come in for one meeting, they're going to vote on something, and they may not be voting the same way that that person they're replacing is going to vote. So then at the next meeting, the vote is just reversed. And then, 2 meetings went by with nothing happened. Does
Yeah.
that make sense what I'm saying?
It does.
It's so, it takes away some consistency if you don't have, by letting alternates go in and vote when somebody else isn't there.
Can somebody vote by phone, like if you're traveling and you're away and you just can't be at the meeting, maybe you could do it?
I've heard, you would think that the state of Mass would get modern with the times, right? And I've heard conflicting yes and no. I've seen some boards actually do that, where they'll dial in a member, they'll have the member present over the phone, and the member participates over the phone, and they count that. I don't know if it's ever been challenged, but I'll ask Aura, what's our position as a town? Can someone call in remotely and participate?
That would be handy.
It sure would.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a voting member right now. I could be.
Yeah,
But if I'm out bailing hay, I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna make it.
exactly.
If we
But
know
Call
somebody,
me, I have my cell phone,
if we know somebody that wants to volunteer to be a replacement, to be a voting member, or perhaps a replacement, or what have you, we could just email him.
Yeah, you could email me, and right now, what I would do is I'd send it before the existing fully appointed members.
Yep.
And then they would,
Okay.
determine which name they'd like to submit to the Board of Selectmen. So that's the next thing, is to try to get the board full again and try to figure that out by the April 8th meeting. So, that's it. Hopefully, it was still worth everybody coming, even though it wasn't an official.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Ted, thank you for manning the cameras. We appreciate it. We're done.